Hello, folks. Today we'll be asking, and we're going to set up our three inequalities. Two sides, when added together, must be bigger than the third side. So 6 plus 8, that's two sides. They have to be bigger than the third side. 6 plus x, that's two sides. It has to be bigger than the third side, 8. And 8 plus x, that's two sides. Have to be bigger than the third side, which is 6. Now I'm going to solve these inequalities for you. You can write them down, but we're going to get to a point where we can discover a shortcut, which is great. So 6 plus 8 is 14. So x has to be less than 14. Now if I solve this one, I'll have x is greater than 2. So x has to be less than 14 or greater than 2. And if I solve this one, well, negative 2, one of these answers is negative. It's this one. Does that make common sense? That you would measure something and you would get a negative number. So that doesn't make sense. So we can get rid of that. So we cross that out, and it leaves us with two numbers. These answers are not the only two numbers that work. These answers form a range or an interval for x, which is the third side. So we can write it like x is less than 14 or greater than 2. Or we can say x is bigger than 2 but less than 14. This is the same thing as saying x is between 2 and 14. Now, one of the ways that we can do this to understand between is to look at a number line. So I'm going to graph this inequality. 2 doesn't have an equal sign, so it has to be an open dot. And graph this 14. It also does not have an equal sign. And I'm going to grab my highlighter, and I'm going to show you all the possible solutions for the third side are in that yellow region. Any number between 2 and 14 is going to work. Now, of course, the shortcut here that comes out of that is if we had just added the two sides together, that would give us 14. And if we had subtracted the two sides, 8 minus 6, that would give us the 2. So we don't really have to go through that process of writing out the three inequalities, thankfully, because if we add the two sides, we'll get the upper part of the range, which is here, and if we subtract the two sides, we'll get the lower part of the range, which is here, and this is all possible values that could be the third side. All those numbers work. We could have someone say, hey, I want the third side to be 13. Well, that would work. Someone could say, I want the third side to be 3. That would. Anything between those two numbers will work. So let's try a couple of more. What are the possible values of the third side? So we add the two numbers, and we subtract two numbers. So if we add these two numbers, we get 17. And if we subtract them, make sure you subtract them in a way that you don't get a negative number. So you go big minus small. You get 7. So x would be less than 17 or bigger than 7. Or you could say third side is between 7 and 17. Use that word between. Here we have 18 and 12. So we add them. We subtract them. Again, we'll subtract big minus small. Because you don't want to get a negative number. The third side has to be less than 30, but bigger than 6, or between 6 and 30. Here we take the 23 and the 10 and we add them. We subtract big minus small. And we get x is between 33 and 13. Can't get that 13 in there, sorry folks. Now this one's interesting. If we add these, we get 14. And if we subtract them, we get 0. So it has to be bigger than 0, the third side. Can't be 0. It has to be bigger than 0 and less than 14. So remember, when we look for the values of the third side, we are getting an interval of possible answers. There is not only 1 or 2 answers. In fact, it can't even be these numbers. It has to be between those numbers. So something that is not those numbers, but in between